Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. I'm really excited about today's guest, Jeanette Lowry. She's a residual income transformational coach. We're going to hear all about what that means, but she's got a fantastic story, and I think the audience is really going to love her story of work ethic, resilience, and overall inspired by what she has to say. So, Jeanette, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, kind of tell people your backstory, how you got
Okay.
started, and we'll delve right into the convo.
My name is Jeanette Lowry, and I'm a 62-year young grandmother and mom of two adult kids. How's that to start with?
Yeah, I love that.
I,
I love
I
that.
came from a family of six. My parents were divorced when I was young. So I found my alternative to out of the house was gymnastics. So I engaged in full time gymnastics from sixth grade, fifth grade through college. And then I got into the whole fitness, teaching, coaching, health, nutrition, all that because of my gymnastics background. But what really turned me on was my father was an entrepreneur. And we come from a lineage of social workers, teachers, working for government and the Army, Navy, Marine. My dad was the only entrepreneur. And the more I watched his insurance company grow, the more I knew I had to find a business that offered residual income because our lifestyle improved as he built his business. And it definitely did not incorporate working in an office 9 to 5. Somebody's schedule, somebody else is, telling me what to do, how to do it. So that's how I stumbled into my, residual income business. And for 7 years, I built a business from home with two little kids and post divorce. And when the divorce happened, I thought I'd have to go back to work, and it just killed me because my kids were 9 and 2 at the time,
Huh.
and I didn't go back to work for 20 years because of residual income. So as I became an empty nester, I became bored, and I had been contacted many times from other former colleagues who found a company that was right up my alley: nutrition, health, well-being, and I could help. My heart's with moms. For I want moms home. I want moms with their kids. I want kids to have their moms home. Um, Either parent is fine, but I think moms are the most common um, benefit beneficiary to raise the kiddos. But I do know some super awesome, single dads who raise their kids. Um, so with that said, in 2018, I had to put the products in my body and make sure that they worked. And within 3 days, I my gymnastics, all my injuries, my inflammation, all that just dissipated. And it shocked me, quite frankly, because I was always into nutrition and alternative health and clean nutrition. But I thought there's something to this company. So I started again, launched my platform in 2018 to teach women how they can not only get their health back, but how they can get home.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a very fascinating story, and I just love that story of entrepreneurship. I thought for a long time the school system taught me that the only way to financial security was through a profession or a job, but I simply could not stand taking orders from someone that I didn't know or just some arbitrary person put there. And like I said, I control my time, income, where I live, who I work with. It's hard, but if you can do it, it's worth it. So but kind of talk about, because I know your story resonates with a lot of segment of the audience, moms, female entrepreneurs. And one thing is talking about this, everybody's talking about residual income, passive
Mhm,
income.
mhm.
And so kind of, what is this residual income transformational coach? What is that?
So I residual income is such that passive income, it's such that you put work up front one time, you get your money in place, and then you can walk away. So you're not directly involved with the creation of that income anymore. I like to, one of my favorite books is Business for the 21st Century, Robert Kiyosaki. He also wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he talked about a cash flow quadrant. So I'd love for your guests to visualize in their minds a cross in the middle of a piece of paper. So you've got 4 squares basically. He divides it out into the left side of the quadrant is where 95% of people find themselves in business. And that means you're either an employee or you're a small business owner. So employee on top, small business owner on the bottom, but both of those exchange time for money. So you're like going back and forth, exchanging time for money. And small business owners in particular, it's nice to have that freedom to be your own boss, but I find small business owners that don't have a way to duplicate themselves are working 24 hours a day. And I'm sure you recognize that, doctor, from your practice, because I know a lot of doctors that, absolutely say, I wanted my autonomy, I wanted my own practice, but oh my goodness, unless you can duplicate yourself and have many of you. So that's where 95% of people find themselves, is on the left side of this cash flow quadrant, but that's where only 5% of wealth is ever created. On the other side of the cash flow quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki talks about is you've got the big business on top, and then on the bottom of that quadrant, you've got the investors. So big business, think about a restaurant that opens in every city and 25 different countries. That's income that is going on without his personal or her personal involvement in each of the restaurants, like a franchising concept. On the bottom, investors. You passive income, you invest. The stock market is probably not the best example right now, but when you invest, you accumulate dividends, interest, so that you basically have walkaway cash, as I call it. So it's walkaway money. But only 5% of people find themselves on the wealth side of the equation, because 95% of all wealth is created on that right side of the quadrant. So how does an average person find themselves on that right side without specialized education, as yourself and many doctors, or a lot of cash? So there's definitely different ways. There's, I think, 8 or 9 different ways for passive income, and I just happened to find mine through network marketing. That's where my happy place ended up. So I can find myself creating the wealth income as I did my first ride with this industry, and it goes on with or without me once I've put everything in place with systems and duplication and all that jazz. So
yeah, I love that. And for the audience out there, Jeanette's resources to the book Business for the 21st Century will be in the show notes.
great.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I picked that up in 2002. That's when my financial freedom journey, that's what got me started.
Oh,
If it
it
weren't for that,
is.
yeah,
Great.
if it weren't for that book, I'd be still W2. And yeah, and a lot of doctors, they're like, okay, I get my, I got my training education, I can do whatever I want. And they go into the corporate world and they're like WTF. I have to be W2. I have to listen to insurance companies. I have to listen to
Big time.
MBA CEO and all this stuff. And they're like, WTF, this is not what I signed up for. Right?
Not what I signed up for. You're exactly right. And that's what a lot of them say. But a lot of them were not open-minded enough to the concept of networking or network marketing, or as we call it today, social influencing. There's different areas of a network marketing company that you can participate in. And there's a lot of people that just want to get their products for free. And, you bring a few people in, you do some referral marketing. And if you have the right company that pays up front and back end, then you can do both, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's quite interesting because I was reading this article where UPS drivers, they were saying that UPS drivers, if you're full time, you make 180K salary and you get benefits. You have the labor union behind you, and a lot of doctors struggle. Unfortunately, a lot of doctors struggle to make 180K. It shouldn't be that way, but they do. So it's like total backwards, and
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
it's kind of like you go to school for all this, but then like where's the
And
real
you're
world?
paying your loans off for the rest of your life. A lot of them,
Yeah.
seriously. And a UPS driver, what, gets trained in a month?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so much disparity today, but there's so much opportunity based on the internet, social media. You know, my business today is 100% different than it was back in 1990, I can assure you.
Yeah.
And I think there's just a lot of people, when COVID hit, I'm sure that you had your own stories around that, but that's really where my heart went. Oh my gosh, because I had friends, not my age, we're past having kids, but many friends of, friends who were home. They were working from home because the mandates. Don't get me started. Um, they were working from home and they were watching their kids on Zoom get their education. And so many of them were not only shocked, but ticked. And that said to me, it's time to get your behind, Jeanette, out of retirement, because I know I have just beautiful things to offer these women. It's a turnkey business. And so that's really, I hired a bunch of coaches, got my platform set up, got these techie gurus, because that's not my bag. So you hire people that have the experience in areas that you don't, right? So that's really what my impetus was to get going again, is seeing these mothers that were just struggling, anxiety, stress, because they could not be there.
Mm. Yeah. And then talk about kind of talk about this this idea of why paradigms must be deconstructed and rebuilt to step into a new improved you.
Yeah. So, as kids, we all are born into a family unit. And this family unit has their own beliefs, their own ways of doing things, their own rituals, traditions. And you just kind of get indoctrinated from your family with their own beliefs that have been passed on for generations and generations. And so as we move through, you know, 8 years old, really, they're imprinted in us. So as we move through adulthood and we really have to start making choices, we go, automatic pilot is how most people live their life. They don't even think about what they're doing. Like, think about driving to a grocery store. You're going to go grocery shopping. Do you actually think through that? I've got to go this way, stop sign. No, it's just automatic pilot, remote. So as adults, that's what we do. And we have trigger answers, quick responses without thinking through it. So a paradigm must be canceled and reignited into a new pattern. So I call them pattern interrupts. So when you catch yourself, first of all, you've got to make a list of paradigms that you grew up with. I mean, doctor, I'm sure you could think of three right now, like in your family. What would three traditions or beliefs be for you?
Well, the big one is uh, go to school, get good grades, get a job, work for 60 years, get a pension, retire.
Get your
That's kind
watch.
of
But you know what? We know that paradigm is already
yeah,
broken, right? But there's still
exactly.
people living in that, especially
Yeah.
boomers. They're still living in that paradigm. But our kids, the G's, I call them, the millennials and the Z's, and they
Another
already
oh
know, they already know that paradigm is long gone.
yeah.
They're a
Oh, the
laptop lifestyle culture, and nobody's going to tell me where to work.
my
So
my grandparents are the government's going to come and save you, and Social Security is going to fund your retirement. That's what my grandparents always tell me.
Yeah, you know what? It's not going to happen, as we are seeing. I mean, right before our eyes. I'm in my 60s. I'm not sure your age. You look younger than me, but um, we already know Social Security is just a pipe dream at this point. I mean, they've already robbed the cradle, right?
Yeah.
So, from that standpoint, teaching women how to interrupt those patterns and those belief systems to reinvent the future that they want. So it's really about getting into the past and deciding, do I want to take this ball and chain around my ankle with me into the future, or do I want to recreate my vision for how I can be? So I work through a lot of mindset and, thinking through the paradigms, breaking paradigms. It shows up in not only business, but, food, weight, mental stress, relationships. I mean, it shows up everywhere from our paradigms.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so kind of moving on is the next question is when you talk about especially for female entrepreneurs, kind of words of encouragement and talking about positive and growth oriented tribe, and kind of how female entrepreneurs need to connect in order to succeed.
Such a I have always been a people person, okay? And what I've found, it's from my gymnastics days. I mean, that was my tribe. And we supported each other, we encouraged each other, we competed against each other, but it wasn't a vicious, it wasn't vicious. So
Yeah.
that empowerment is so crucial. And a lot of women that work in corporate America and men, they're just put into a tribe. They don't get a choice who their, colleagues are that they work with. And in my business, I get to choose my tribe. And I always say there's 5 things that I look for, and people should look for if they're considering this network marketing as, their cash flow for passive income. One is the company, integrity. Are they over 10 years old? Do they have a track record? 2, the products. They have to be consumable so that every month you get reorders, which is your residual income. Unique, consumable, and emotional. They have to have something that somebody's going to, take it and go, oh my gosh, I've got to have it. And I've got a fantastic example for myself I'll talk about. But number 3 is the compensation. Is this compensation plan such that, like my first company, it was hard. And at the time, it was the best one out there. But it was a stair-step breakaway, and everything reset day one, first of the month. So the compensation is important. And I was looking for a compensation that would benefit upfront immediately to the new people, and mid replacement type income, and then back end, legacy income. 4 is the trends and timing. I mean, it wouldn't, I don't think it would serve you today to try and open a brick and mortar and franchise that out, because that's not where the trends are taking us. The trends for natural beauty, health, wellness, anti-aging is exploding worldwide. And then 5 is the tribe. 5 is the tribe. So picking a community that, just lights you up, that you can become the best version of yourself with, and that the support is there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love that. So kind of talk about how people can follow your work, check you out, contact you, if they want to reach out to you, find more about you, how can they do that?
thank you, doctor. I appreciate that. Chris. It's JeanetteLowry.com. Simple. That's my main website. And I've got free resources on there for like the paradigms. I do a master class with paradigm resets. You can download some PDFs. There's 3 or 4 different free resources for you. And I do have master classes, boot camps that I do quarterly. And I also do 11-day intermittent fasting and detoxing for those, women and men that want their health back and really want to see what intermittent fasting with adding this cleansing detox system can do for long-term weight management.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, for all of the audience out there, Jeanette's resources will be in the links and show notes. And let's thank her for coming on. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Lou. Appreciate it.